Hi, Frank. Thanks so much for coming to BizTalk. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you very much, Max, for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for your time. So let's start giving an introduction on yourself.
So I'm Frank O'Brien. I'm the founder and CEO of 5Tier. 5Tier Connect is the world's leading connected media platform. 5Tier as a platform started 7 years ago. Prior to that, I had started a consultancy which turned into an agency of 60 people 7 years prior. And throughout the process of building the consultancy into what became the agency, we had sort of grown into an inability to deliver on solving the problem that we set out to solve. So when I started to consult, I was consulting on the fact that marketing programs should be integrated. And clients really like that because a lot of big clients have 6, 7 agencies around the table. For each agency, you're paying fees. And I thought that could be consolidated. So my consultancy quickly grew into an agency. We were doing everything from creative strategy to digital development to media planning and buying. But then we got so big that if a client called up and said, hey, I really want this one thing and I want you to work as one of 7 agencies, we had to. And it was at that point, 10 years ago, that I realized we had all this technology that could really do the heavy lifting. And over the course of 2 years, we took all that technology, put it into the platform that is now 5Tier Connect. And now we're able to deliver cross-channel marketing and media solutions in everything from digital out-of-home to TV to radio, email, text message, even direct mail. So through one platform, and I have to say we have a lot of agency clients as well who use this, you can access all those channels so you don't have to fragment spend across 10 different providers. So I'm very proud to say that total of 15 years ago almost, I set out to solve the problem of fragmented marketing, and we've done that successfully in this platform that connects to all forms of media in one place. So, on the screen here, you have our winter spring presentation, which we need to update as we're getting into summer. And on the lower right there, you see the dashboard for Connect, giving you the ability to build awareness campaigns that tie into action marketing programs, basically email, text, and things of that nature, and then attribution on the far right, where you can tie in things like point of sale. So, before I get into the slides, quick example is you target a TV ad to only people who are buyers of sneakers, let's say in London. Only people that have that interest, that are actively in the market to buy, are going to see that commercial. And then if you have a call to action that says visit the website or visit a website, you would then have the ability to see that person that you were trying to reach actually visited a website. And then on the right side, if you link your point of sale system, let's say they're buying shoes online, you'll be able to track that person saw that ad that was singularly targeted towards them. They went to the website because that was the call to action, and they ultimately bought. So it's very hyper efficient marketing is what the platform provides. So just to reiterate, you can instantly create targeted markets based on 32,000 plus different data sets. This includes search data, mobile data, even data that shows where people are moving throughout the course of their day. So again, if someone visits an office building during the day and you're trying to target a B2B campaign to a CEO, you actually have the ability to reach that person on their home television after they leave the office, knowing that they were spending time in a building, performed certain searches. Let's say they're looking for a new distributor. You as that distributor who's buying for that business, you could then display an ad on their home TV, which would be more effective because they're in a more relaxed state and sort of out of their day-to-day. So tons of data points. Again, you can reach through any media or marketing channel, both broadcast and direct. We define broadcast as out-of-home, TV, and radio. Direct would be something like direct mail, text message, email. And then the platform allows you to immediately see and track engagement, follow up, and run retargeting campaigns on an individual level. And you can attribute success to everything from a web or store visit to point of sale. So how do we get here? 1950s arguably was the golden age of broadcast, post-World War II. Families were buying TVs, they were buying radios. So you had your broadcast golden age come to be. once broadcast became sort of a little generic and everybody was used to it, you had direct marketing come around in the 1980s, where you had phone numbers on a commercial that said, hey, call this number, and then you could time it and you could track it, and that's where really data started to be used for the purposes of marketing and advertising. Early 2000s with the internet and quote unquote online, you had the digital, social, and then mobile explosion, where you were advertising on more direct channels. You could target someone based off of their Facebook interests, and we all know sort of how that's grown over the last couple of years. So now we have all these forms of marketing, and it's important to note that 5-10 years ago, broadcast didn't have the capabilities to do what it does today in the way of targeting, but they've built that capability to be able to reach people on an individual level, just like you could reach them online. So really, connected media is this next phase of growth. And because we were a bit ahead of the curve, we were able to launch the platform, and now we're seeing great success with adoption. So 5-tier Connect, simple way to boil it down. Target your customers, build your audiences that you're trying to reach, sometimes down to an individual level. If you have key account lists or customer lists, engage them through any form of media. So again, the nice part about this is, let's say you're trying to reach a market of 5,000 people, and you think that television is the way to go, and you run your ads on television, but that day they're listening to radio. Let's say there's a festival going on and they're not actually watching TV. Through our platform, if you let the platform do the heavy lifting, you can reach them wherever they are when the right time, when the time is right to send the message. So connected media solves a number of problems, while also taking the guesswork out of where to reach people is one of those powerful solutions. And then again, attribution is what we're all about. We want to make sure customer acquisition costs are as efficient as it can be, and that they actually tie back to driving profits forward. So if it costs too much to reach a customer in a particular market, and because of that, there's not going to be a large profit margin, our system can actually tell you, hey, you're not going to make any money because it's going to cost you more money to acquire the customer than the profit you'd be driving. Why don't you spend your money over here where those profit margins would be higher? Over the years, I'm pleased to say we've gotten a ton of press. As of this video, if you Google CNBC billboards, my talk on Power Lunch is the first one that comes up. Forbes covered us in the early days and nailed it, saying that 5-tier is built to be the operating system for integrated marketing, which I feel we have achieved. So in total, probably 10 Class A press outlets have covered us. This gets a bit into how our targeting engine works. So we have both high-level targeting, think census. That only changes, once every 10 years here in the US. And to note, we are worldwide. We have access to screens and networks around the world. But here in the US, if you're looking at the census, that's something that changes, at most every 10 years. But then daily, there are things like weather, traffic, consumer behavior searches, news. If something happens in the news, that might actually change the buyer's persona. So we have access to that granular data to place campaigns, target and attribute based off of both high level historically where things have been and granular market shifts. And then again, cross-channel attribution in a single dashboard. You see how long somebody watched a TV commercial, if they watched it and went to a website, how long they stayed there as a result. If they abandoned the website and let's say they went to the store, we can show you that data as well. And then let's say they didn't buy, you can actually run a retargeting campaign to get them to buy. So the way it works, I get this question all the time. All right, cool. I'm bought in. What do I do? Sign up for an account on 5tier.com. And you see here, it's open access, very transparent. Unlike other platforms that require a set of meetings, and then at the end you see a big price tag. We are free to access. And then media starts at $1 per play for every place but Times Square, Piccadilly Circus, what we call our spectacular premium placements. So the first thing is create an account. More sophisticated marketers, first thing we're going to want to do is create an audience. A lot of clients just jump into media placement because they know the market they want to be in. and they want to kind of see the effect of being able to, say, buy a billboard or a TV spot and have it run where they're watching it. But we always recommend create your target audience first, then choose your media channels, and then once you upload your creative is approved, and immediately you start seeing reporting. So within a couple of minutes, you can launch an integrated media campaign globally for just a few dollars. And ultimately what it's going to do, it's going to lower your gross budgets, so you don't have to go into the platform and commit $25,000, $250,000, millions of dollars. You can start from what we call the bottom up. You can go in and say, hey, I want to test this market for a few $100s, a few $1,000s, and then see what happens over the course of a few days. And that's typically what we've seen clients do. Start small, see the success, see the efficiency, which is point 2, launch quickly, and then really start to roll this out either in parallel with existing campaigns or on its own. Also fortunate to say, in addition to the great press, thousands of clients per year, from your mom and pops to small businesses up to the Fortune 500s. We work across B2B, B2C, and what we call B2O, because we have political campaigns that run through here. We have people that, as I mentioned earlier in that distributor example, that are trying to impact influencers within an organization. So we've run, your typical direct response campaigns, both in the business and consumer sense, but we've also run influencer campaigns with companies who are trying to achieve different goals. A few examples. Train is a heating and air conditioning company here in the US. We lowered their cost per acquisition from a $300 cost per lead, where their cost per acquisition was actually in the thousands of dollars, down to $100 for a confirmed installation of heater or air conditioner. In the middle there, in the spirits category, we built a brand from the ground up in just a couple of hours. And within the first year, they had $500,000 in sales, and it led to an acquisition. And then for Accor Hotels, I believe it's the world's 3rd largest hospitality company. It might be number 2 now. We took over Times Square on New Year's Eve. In the second that the ball started to count down from 10, we were able to change the screens behind the ball drop to promote Accor's loyalty program. And we're consistently over industry benchmarks by a minimum of 2x. Most times it's north of 5x. And I'm happy again to say that in the last several years, I can't think of one time where we've missed the mark. Product launch for Thomson Reuters is another example, getting traders to sign up for trial product of their competition to the Bloomberg terminal. This is a media company where we're able to target media buyers in elevators as they were entering the office. We were able to track them through to submitting a request for proposals from this media company. Overall delivered, I think it was 500 new leads within a matter of days. And then Lexus, getting someone to take a test drive, knowing that they took a test drive, and then when the person went home, showing on the TV ad on their screen for the car model that they just test drove and liked but didn't buy. So another example there of driving to do something and then retargeting based off of knowing that they took that action. And that right there is the 5-tier, 5-minute elevator pitch. We do have a much more in-depth set of slides, but we'll spare you with that today in our 30-minute talk here.
Yeah, absolutely, more than enough to understand. Thank you so much, Frank. Let me start with this one. Can you target me? Of course you can, but how do you target both in physical space and online?
So the physical spaces that we live in today are delivering digital experiences. If you think about when you watch TV, as of 2.5, 3 years ago, there were more people watching through streaming services than typical cords. Same thing with billboards or supermarket screens. All those ads are being delivered digitally. They're coming from a server somewhere, and a lot of times it's our server that they're coming from. So that is sort of the delivery piece. Now, how do we target you? Your cell phone. You're sending information up to the cloud. we live in a world that's driven by APIs, which stands for Application Programming Interface. So we tie into those APIs that tell us what you're looking for, and that data is pulled into the same server that's triggering those ads that you're seeing, whether it's on your home television or some physical space. So part of the data that comes in is location, and then we have the ability to drive ads on what are known as addressable screens, which also is location. So we're able to target based off of data that we're getting from the devices that you're using as we move throughout your day on screens that we know that you're passing by.
What about the digital billboards? I remember when we talked the first time, I think 3-4 years ago, I was very impressed by the capacity to reach people also via digital billboards. How did it work really?
Certainly. So as this page loads, it's loading our digital billboard network. Just as I'd mentioned before, there are screens everywhere. And in our case, we have access to millions of them. And this map that I'm pulling up shows you, where these screens are. So digital is place-based. And, you can see here thousands just in the region that I'm in. And as we sort of pull back and open up, worldwide, there are millions. Nationally, the number's somewhere in the hundreds of thousands, but internationally, it's in the tens of millions. So for digital screens, on our platform, it's as easy as clicking on the screen that you want to buy, adding it to your plan, and then uploading your creative down here. And as I mentioned before, a lot of our clients come in, just as you mentioned, with a heavy interest in place-based, because you can go to the side of a highway, look at a screen and see your ad. But if you were to take a step beyond this and target a particular audience, then that also takes all the guesswork out of it. So the screens would change, not based off of what you selected in a physical location, but based off of where your buyers are.
And is the traffic going close to the screen changing what is displayed on the screen?
Yes. And we have more and more clients that are understanding that capability and buying based off of that. So an example is a new product that's sold at a supermarket, and we're running a campaign in Michigan for this right now. We're running ads that are in closest proximity to the places that brand is sold, and we're only running it at times when we know that there are going to be drivers on the roads passing that screen. We also have the ability to only display ads when traffic is stopped. So let's say there's a traffic jam, you're going to benefit more by running an ad to the 200 cars that are sitting there at a traffic jam, more so than if there's no traffic on the road, or everyone's driving 90 miles an hour. So we have the ability to influence these screens and place advertisements both based off of relative location to, let's say, a store, but then also on things like traffic, weather, or other things that are going on in the news.
In terms more economical way, your customer, they come to you, your clients, because they can spend less and having more leads and probably more sales. How do you decide on your platform the best plan for them in terms of which marketing strategy they should use to reach the customers, the clients?
Certainly. So we do offer managed service. We have 3 product lines. We have sort of direct channel buy. So let's say somebody is looking to run, getting away from billboards. Let's say they want to run an audio campaign, which is also another campaign that we ran this week. We had a client in Arkansas. They wanted to run a campaign from Thursday to Tuesday. They knew they wanted audio. We were able to very quickly set them up on stations that were only geared towards particular individuals in Arkansas. That's probably our easiest, highest volume type of placement these days, right? But it all runs through the platform. So we set that up. We send them the logins. If they haven't already created an account, they can then log in. They can buy additional radio stations, or let's say they want to add on television and billboards. They can do that right through the platform. So, the first 2 categories of product, one is your direct channel buy, like a radio buy. The second is going to be your platform buy, where people are actually in there and buying everything from what we're talking about to, again, things like direct mail. The third is, I think, the answer to the question you're asking. If a client comes in and they say, look, this is great, but we need a little bit of guidance, we will sort of hold their hand or drive the car for them for a little bit. We call it managed service. And we'll say, okay, where's your product sold? How big of a company are you? Let's run a test, because there is an element of machine learning and AI in this. So by running a test in, let's say, a smaller market like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we're able to get all the channels set up, get their creative loaded, get it approved, target one individual store, or let's say, set of stores, but a small set, like 10. And then over the course of 3 to 5 days, we will make sure that the campaign is performing, that the campaign is learning. And then we'll go back and we'll say, hey, how did we do? Did we lower your cost per acquisition? Did you see a sales spike? Did you see a spike in some other activity? And in almost every instance, the answer is yes. And then from there, we'll slowly roll out other markets until they have a full connected media campaign.
What about the market? Where is the market today? All US?
No, we have several international clients, actually. Just an hour ago, I heard we have a great sales team, and they're all assigned to those 3 products. They're all assigned to one of those 3 products. So we had a client come in, and they're like, hey, we have a US launch. It's a London-based company, actually. And we said, great, we've got Times Square. Everybody knows Times Square internationally. Let's run 100 plays in Times Square. And immediately they, signed on. And then they said, well, we see screens in London. So if I go here and I type in our little platform, UK, they said, well, we see you have screens in London. What can you do in London? And we found out that they were an international company. So they're based in Europe, but they have teams around the world. And within 25 minutes, we went from just fulfilling a need here in the US to talking about a larger scale campaign that will be international across 6 different marketing directors. So they have a marketing director in London, a marketing director in Amsterdam, 4 other markets. So the market is international.
In terms of economics, how your business model works?
So when we started, we really were the first to market. I personally spent time building relationships with supply side partners, your networks like the NBCs and ABCs of the world. Sky TV, actually, over in London, led us to global.com, which is based over in England. And I went to the partners and I said, look, this is a new market. We know that we can sell this. We have a platform that's already built to sell this. But we're a smaller company. We can't afford an annual commitment of $1 million. We can't afford a license of $25,000 a month even. So what if we did this? We see your inventory coming in. We see that it's not sold. We're getting bid requests. We know that nobody else is bidding. What if we paid you double for that inventory to be able to sell it on a per play basis? So think about it. You're not able to sell this inventory. We're confident that we can sell it. We see it. So anytime that we bid, we're going to bid double. So you're always going to get double the price of the inventory that you're unable to sell. And they like that. So at the end of every month, they bill us. And we've had, a 3-4 year relationship now with a lot of these networks that, we're happy to call friends and family at this point because we've done so much business together. And then to the end client, think about it. If a client doesn't have, same as us, even if it's a big client, if they don't have $25,000 to put into a test market, they come to us, they can spend $5,000. Yes, they're paying a little bit of a premium, and the higher the budget, the more we're able to kind of work down what that premium is. But they don't have to bite off a huge annual budget. And let's say the market shifts. COVID is a great example. When the pandemic struck and people were staying at home, anyone who had an annual commitment for billboards, a lot of times had that money just sitting there, but nobody was leaving their home. With us, our clients went in home. So we were able to take all of our clients who had allocated money for billboard placements and put their ads on TV when everybody was staying at home and ordering online. So as far as the economics of it, we put a premium on top of what we pay our networks or distribution or data partners, but in almost every case, we're paying them a little bit of a premium, and that's how we're able to get that per play access that not a lot of other people have.
In terms of budgeting, if I come to you and say, okay, I have 5,000 per month to spend, I can't go over. Can you please find the best way for me to advertise my services, products, whatever it is? And if we start with one strategy, as you say, COVID comes, we can move to a new one, which is more effective. Is this what in somehow you are telling to me?
Exactly. And I think that ability to service that need, answer those questions, comes from the agency DNA that we had from that first 7 years before we shifted entirely towards platform. So we get that request a lot, and I also think that that's another benefit. Not only are we service oriented because we have that DNA where we want to help, but we have that experience. We worked in nearly every category. We worked on campaigns large and small, so we can pull from historical knowledge of successful campaigns to say, yep, Max, we can definitely help you maximize your $5,000 budget. Here are the questions that we have. And then we can very quickly look towards past experience to get everything up and running and to make sure that you're successful.
Which are the feedbacks from your clients? Did they improve sales? Did they reduce the CAC?
Yeah, we could sit here all day and I could give you case study after case study. The one that kind of I like the most, that stands out the most over the course of the last year, we just had a client renew, and we spent the first 3 months where the campaign was learning, and it wasn't a big budget. It was, just under $100,000 for a year, so $25,000 a quarter. In the first quarter, we didn't spend nearly any of the budget. And I remember hopping on the phone with a client and saying, hey, I'm sorry, but the market's just not big enough. And, at that point they said to us, no, that's great. You promised us that you weren't going to spend our money unless the market was there. Let's keep it going. And then, the second quarter, the thing for us is if the market's not there, then, we don't get to bill that additional 25,000. But that's kind of what we're built for, maximize sales, super efficient. If the market's not there, your money's not just going to go out the window on TV when the market's not watching television, right? So second quarter, we ended up getting, I think it was 100 clicks to their website. And I said again to the client, I'm like, hey, it's a regional brand. And I said to the client, hey, I don't want to keep having these calls and keeping you guys tied up, once a month on a call for status if the market's not there. And their marketing manager said, no, wait. From those 100 visits that we got, 75 people inquired, and we had more sales this month than we've had in any other month of marketing. So I was like, kind of blown away by that, because the AI piece and the algorithms and machine learning, you build it, but sometimes you can't really even see sometimes the way the data is working in the background. So they were very happy. They spent another 25,000, so we're quarterly, but we got that. And then we ran it again for 6 weeks, and numbers again shot through the roof. But I want to say in a year, we delivered less than 1,000 web visits, which normally that'd be a black eye. But of those 1,000 web visits, they had 600 or 700 form entries and 500 conversions. So, again, we could sit here all day and I could tell you stories like that, but that one to me is the one that sticks out over the course of the last year.
Wait, let me ask you, marketing and publishing, whoever they are, agency, they need to be very proxy. They need to know the market. So if you want to launch a marketing campaign, for example, far away from US in India, you have to go somewhere there and talking to them because they know the market. How your platform works in this way?
Yep. I love these questions, by the way. So I'll jump to another page here. So everything from an intelligence standpoint, data targeting is built in and point and click. So let's say we wanted to target. I've been to Montana. I've been to Portland, Oregon. Let's just say Oregon. You can go in here and you can type in Portland, and you point, click, and immediately you see down here it pulls from databases to show you the market segment. So another part of the platform is if you put in your products and put in your product margins and you put in what you think your ideal buyer is, it'll go ahead and overlay and show you that these are the markets that you should be in. So something like household income, You can layer that in. You can layer in psychographics like sports, as you can see, a sports fan, big game tonight. Apologize for the hat, go Rangers. So you put in sports fans, and then you put in behavioral, certain type of shopper. And then this will do the targeting for you. So you don't have to go to India, as you used as an example before, because we do have a worldwide database, you see over here. But you can actually just go ahead, plug everything in here, and the platform will do the research for you. Back to the map, as I mentioned, you can see screens all over the world. But the other nice part about it is you can do things like Street View, so you can actually see, what this screen looks like. So if you don't want to be in a particular area because it's not brand safe, let's say, or doesn't line up with your brand, you can actually get a Street View now right here without having to leave your desk.
Thank you. I mean, in terms of funding, are you raising any fund now?
So we just opened up a round. We've been self-funded for 14 years. I'm hesitantly proud to say, because it's been a ride. And we've always been better product builders and marketers. We've built solutions that immediately had a market fit. And as I mentioned, we have thousands of clients, but we really do at this point, we welcome, I should say, help to get the word out, to build more of our sales team, to accelerate growth a bit as it pertains to sales and marketing. So yes, we did just open up a round. I'd be happy to send you details on it. I would say we're always in the market, but because we're not professional fundraisers, because we've always been a lean and mean team, we've always been sort of sales, product, marketing first. But we would love to have partners as it pertains to this next phase of our growth.
I mean, how much are you raising now for this round?
So the number we have out there is $5 million. It's funny because I looked at a presentation we put together 2 or 3 years ago, and it was that number as well. We have ongoing sales, we have growing sales, but $5 million would give us significant runway to strategically and conservatively expand. Really what we need now is more market awareness, money to attend trade shows, money to build some of our business development staff and support staff. We don't have to invest money in product development. We have access to all the supply that we need. So we're at a point where we're ready to scale up. And with ongoing sales and revenue, we're able to do that at a certain clip. But if we had the right funding, which we believe the number is 5 million, we would be able to do that more quickly and more confidently.
Let me close with this one. I mean, do you have any message? Why investors should invest in yourself and fight it?
I love the question. There's so many ways I can answer it. So I think the latest thing for me, why should someone invest, or why should people invest? We're not going anywhere. I look back at the data from the pandemic, and we worked harder during the pandemic. Sales were flat, which I'm happy to say. We did a few $1 million in revenue. And then after the pandemic, we shot up considerably with a lot of enterprise clients that, as I mentioned earlier, were stuck with billboards that they couldn't use, and they need television. So the first thing is we're not going anywhere. 14 years of being self-funded and investing the profits of the business in the platform has gotten us to where we are. But the second thing is, I would just say this market is ready to explode. Just do a little bit of Google research on programmatic media buying. Programmatic sometimes gets a bad name because of things like attribution, but we solved that problem. So, with us and our platform, we're sort of on the edge of the frontier. And a lot of times we've been on the frontier when, nobody's been there. That's one of the reasons why we were able to get so far ahead compared to some of the other players in the market, which only do one thing or the other. And, I would say, in addition to this market being set to explode, the third part is we do have the ability, if competition comes in, to focus more so in one area or the other. Right now, I'm doing research daily to see if there is another company out there that's even just doing digital out of home and TV. And I'm unhappy to say there's not, because it's hard to point to a competitive set. So we focus on silos. But if competitors did come into the market, I feel like we have more than one way to win. Part of that's our history, part of that's our relationships, part of that's the press. So I would say, although I guess you're not supposed to say any investment is safe. You have those three things to sort of ensure your investment. You have a team that's not going anywhere, a platform that's not going anywhere, a new market, and then ways to diversify if competition comes in.
Frank, thank you so much for coming to BizTalk. It's been a very great pleasure for me.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.